He stole $200,000 to impress a camgirl, then murdered his entire family when they found out. This is the story of Grant Amato, the Florida nurse who destroyed 3 generations of his family for a fantasy that never loved him back. Chulwoda, Florida, a town forgotten by time, where lives are quiet, days are routine, and secrets are left to rot behind closed doors. Grant Tiernan Amato was the firstborn, a quiet boy with pale skin, sharp features, and a thirst for control. His father, Chad, a clinical pharmacist. His mother, Margaret, a senior operations manager at a local hospital. 2 brothers, Cody, close in age, and Jason, older, estranged. The Amatos lived in a single-story home, shaded by oak trees. A tight-knit family held together by ritual. Morning breakfasts, evening chores, weekend barbecues. From the outside, they looked like a photo on a Hallmark card. But perfection has a price. Grant and Cody found meaning in discipline, weightlifting, academics, routine. At Timber Creek High School, Grant was known for his persistence. Coaches admired him. Cody followed him like a shadow. But even then, the cracks had started forming. Small, almost invisible. Both brothers enrolled in the nursing program. Grant chose anesthesiology, drawn to precision, silence, control. His movements became calculated, his gaze unreadable. Grant's future seemed carved in marble. But success can feel like a performance, and Grant was tired of pretending. Evenings in the Amato household were quiet. Too quiet. Margaret cooked. Chad read the paper. Cody did his coursework. And Grant, locked in his room. The door glowed blue from the inside. The light never turned off. Her name was Sylvia Venceslavova, a cam model from Bulgaria. Online, she was Sylvie. To Grant, she was everything. He sent her thousands. Tokens, gifts, fantasies. Each dollar, a thread pulling him deeper into a world no one else could touch. Margaret noticed first, then Chad, then Cody. But Grant didn't explain. He deflected, lied, smiled, and disappeared behind that locked door once again. Then came the break. 8 vials of propofol missing, traced directly to Grant's locker. His career gone, his pride erased. Margaret held the newspaper in her hands like it was a tombstone. Cody avoided hallways at school. Chad sat in the garage for hours, not speaking. Grant came home, but he didn't return. Not really. He brought someone else back with him. Someone invisible. Someone dangerous. Night after night, he stared into that screen. He told himself it was real, that she cared. That one day, she'd meet him. They argued more. Chad laid down rules. Margaret cried in the laundry room. Cody tried to fix it all. But Grant didn't listen. He didn't care. He had fallen into a world with no rules. No reality. Only her. Margaret whispering on a phone call. Cody checking the mail. Chad staring out a window. The bills ballooned. $20,000. Then $40,000. Grant took out loans in his brother's name. Used his father's cards. Lied about it all. The house felt colder. Doors slammed. Voices were raised. But Grant never lost his calm. Never lost his obsession. Something had shifted in the Amato home. The silence wasn't just uncomfortable anymore. It was suffocating. Margaret sat at the kitchen table under the harsh glare of the overhead light, hands folded in her lap. Her face, lined with worry, held an edge of steel. Chad stood nearby, arms crossed, shoulders squared. Cody hovered by the doorway, eyes darting between parents and brother, fear and frustration warring in his gaze. Grant entered, shrouded in the low hum of his own turmoil. His gait was deliberate but hollow, as though each step required conscious effort. His eyes flicked to the trio gathered before him. Mother, father, brother, unified in quiet determination. Margaret began softly, voice steady though her throat trembled. Grant, we can't continue like this. We love you, but we can't watch you destroy yourself. She slid a brochure across the table, an outpatient rehab program specializing in addiction therapy and digital dependency. This can help. Grant's jaw tightened. The word help rang hollow, as though mocking him. He glanced at the brochure. Images of serene counselors, support groups in bright rooms, testimonials of recovery. The promise of normalcy shimmered in the gloss. He met Chad's eyes. His father's gaze was both pleading and unyielding. Cody stared too, arms still folded. In that moment, Grant saw unity, a front he could no longer break through. He nodded once, sharply. "Okay," he said, voice low but clear. "I'll go." That night, the house seemed lighter. Phones sat on chargers in the living room. Routers were reset. All screens locked behind new passwords known only to Margaret and Chad. The family exhaled a collective breath, fragile but hopeful. In outpatient sessions, Grant listened. He sat in a circle of strangers, each confessing their vices. Alcohol, pills, gambling, online addictions. He nodded along, practiced empathy on cue. In private reflections, he scribbled notes, triggers, coping mechanisms, milestones. The path to recovery lay before him, paved with self-discipline and honest confession. Yet beneath the surface, something darker festered. Burner email accounts emerged like phantoms. Under the guise of anonymous addresses, he reconnected to past obsessions, doc uploads, private chat rooms, and foreign servers. Each night, after returning from meetings, he retreated into shadows, laptop aglow with coded logins and fake aliases. At home, the router's LED blinked in the living room. Margaret and Chad downshifted conversation when they passed it, a silent watchfulness. Cody even attempted to set up monitoring software, but Grant's tech savviness thwarted every measure. He installed VPNs, masked his traffic, and rerouted systems. Every lock had its key. Meanwhile, financial records revealed fresh anomalies. Bank alerts pinged on Chad's phone. Micropayments to digital wallet services, each transaction under $20, unremarkable alone but mounting quietly over months. Credit card statements showed charges at anonymous shell companies registered offshore. Margaret's heart clenched when she saw the total, small enough to avoid immediate notice, large enough to bleed the family dry over time. Cody confronted Grant again one night, voice exhausted. "We changed everything. Why are you still doing this?" His brother didn't answer. The glow from Grant's bedroom leaked through the door crack, illuminating a silhouette bent over a screen. Cody flinched as the laptop snapped shut. No words passed through the closed door. In the days leading up to January 24, 2019, the house became a hushed fortress. Lights were left off. TV volumes were muted. Shadows pooled in corners. Each family member moved through separate routines, touching the same rooms but rarely the same air. The shared history of laughter and unity was eclipsed by an unspoken dread. On January 24, 2019, as Margaret Amato sits at her desk, immersed in her work, behind her, the silence is shattered by a single fatal gunshot. Moments later, Chad Amato enters the kitchen, unaware of the horror that awaits. 2 shots ring out, ending his life instantly. Grant Amato, their son, then sends a message from his father's phone, luring his brother Cody home under the guise of normalcy. As Cody steps through the door, he's met with a final, fatal shot. In a calculated move, Grant attempts to stage the scene as a murder-suicide, placing the pistol near Cody's body. The next morning, concerned co-workers report Cody's absence. Deputies arrive at the Amato residence, finding all entrances locked. Inside, they discover the lifeless bodies of Chad, Margaret, and Cody. A manhunt ensues. Surveillance cameras at the nearby motel captured Grant checking in late the previous evening. He paid in cash, a deliberate choice to avoid traces. The footage showed him calm and purposeful, strolling down corridors. Days later, the same footage recorded his arrest. On January 26th, authorities locate Grant at a DoubleTree hotel in Orange County, Florida. 2 detectives in uniform, handcuffs clicking shut on his wrists, a vacant expression beneath the fluorescent lobby lights. He's taken into custody without incident. In the interrogation room, Grant sat under harsh lighting. Grant offers conflicting stories, denying involvement. His brother Jason pleads for the truth, but Grant remained steadfast in his claims of innocence. His once steady gaze flickered as investigators laid out the evidence. Blood-stained clothes, digital trails, token purchase receipts, and motel key cards. They pointed to timestamps, forensic analysis, digital footprints, and financial records, matching each shot to archive data. They displayed surveillance stills, close-ups of his face. They read transcripts of his final cam sessions, messages exchanged with Sylvie, promises made, and obsessions confessed. When the lead detective produced the actual weapon, an IWI Jericho 941, Grant's breathing shuddered. The weight of 3 lives crushed him. His defiance unraveled into agony. The facade crumbles. Grant Amato is arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. He is held without bond, awaiting trial. The tragedy leaves a community in shock, a family destroyed, and a cautionary tale etched into the annals of true crime history. The courthouse loomed gray against an overcast sky. Tall columns, rigid and unwavering. Inside, hushed voices hummed beneath high ceilings. Grant Amato sat at the defense table, wrists shackled, posture rigid. His once broad shoulders were stooped, as if burdened by the weight of 3 lives. Margaret's absence was a ghost in the room. Chad's silence echoed from empty chairs. Cody's laughter long gone, left a hollow space. Their memories pressed against the walls like invisible portraits. The prosecutor stood, calm and determined. She laid out her case in clipped, precise statements. First-degree murder, 3 counts. Premeditation was established by digital trails, bank transfers, motel records, and token logs. Execution-style killings corroborated by forensic evidence, residue trajectory, and blood spatter. She spoke of betrayal, the veneration of a cam model's illusion over a mother's love, a father's pride, and a brother's bond. The jury listened, faces impassive, absorbing each fact like cold drops of rain. Jason Amato testified against his brother that, in the aftermath of the murders, Jason Amato stumbled across something unexpected. A contract tucked inside one of his father's old legal pads. Scrawled by hand, it wasn't a legal document but a final plea. His father had written out a strict agreement for Grant. If he was going to stay under their roof, the support would end. No more paying off his debts, no late-night internet binges, no more marathons in front of a screen. It was structure or nothing. Weeks earlier, their father had staged a last-resort intervention. The tension had been mounting for months, but this was different, decisive. Chad had driven Grant to a treatment center in South Florida, hoping the professionals could reach him where the family no longer could. Jason didn't know it then, but that would be the last time he saw his father and Cody alive. He said when the news finally reached him, it came in the form of uniformed deputies arriving at his workplace. The building shut down. He was pulled aside and briefed in vague, cautious terms. 3 bodies were found at the family home, 1 woman and 2 men. Jason could barely process it, but he answered their questions, trying to make sense of a reality that had already unraveled. The defense rose next. Their argument leaned on addiction's devastation. They spoke of propofol dependency, of cyber obsession's psychological hold, of a fractured mind grasping at digital phantoms. Psychiatric experts testified to impulse control, delusions of intimacy, and cognitive distortion. They pleaded for leniency, for understanding of a man consumed by forces beyond his control. In the gallery, empty seats bore the weight of community sorrow. Neighbors who once waved across lawns now whispered in parked cars. Reporters filled aisles beyond the partitions, pens poised, eyes sharp. Closing arguments moved like twin currents. The prosecutor's final words were measured. Obsession is not an excuse for murder. A life taken is never returned. The defense's closing was softer. He is a victim of his own mind, a prisoner of addiction. Show mercy where you can. The jury retired. Hours passed in tense deliberation. Down the hall, Grant sat silent, eyes flicking between family photos brought by the prosecution, printed snapshots of happier times, vacations, birthdays, and graduations. When the jury returned, the foreperson's voice rang out, "We find the defendant guilty on all counts." Life without parole. No possibility of release. The words struck like thunder. Grant's face remained expressionless. His world contracted to the confines of that moment. When questioned about feeling remorse, Amato replied that his family had already spent months accusing him of destroying their lives, of stealing from them and breaking the house rules. So he figured he might as well take the blame for the murders too. Outside the courthouse, media cameras flashed. A swarm of microphones thrust forward. Grant was led away, head bowed, disappearing behind gray walls. Back in Chuliota, the Amato home stood empty. Windows shuttered. The lawn grew wild. Inside, dust settled on the silent instruments of daily life. Coffee mugs, a mother's knitting needles, a father's worn security badge, and a brother's textbooks scattered across a desk. In the local cemetery, 3 headstones marked the end of the line. Margaret Diane Amato, November 12, 1958 to January 24, 2019. Chad Edward Amato, April 3, 1955 to January 24, 2019. Cody Matthew Amato, June 7, 1995 to January 24, 2019. A single bouquet of flowers lay before them. The floral stems bowed under the weight of grief. Neighbors passed by in quiet reverence, heads bowed, words caught in throats.
Obsession is a silent predator. It creeps in through glowing screens, in the hush of night, in promises whispered from distant servers. It preys on vulnerability, convincing the mind that digital echoes are truer than flesh and blood. Grant Amato's descent began with a breach of trust in a hospital supply room. It spiraled into hidden late-night exchanges, clandestine tokens purchased in the name of empty affection, and the ultimate, irreversible betrayal of his own family. In a world where technology offers infinite connections, it also carries the capacity for ruin. The illusion of intimacy can overshadow reality. A pixelated face on a screen can hold more power than a mother's embrace, a father's guidance, a brother's loyalty.
Please like and subscribe to Cloaked in Crime for more. Make sure you turn on notifications